Shalom, shalom. First off, I want to start off by giving all the glory, infinite praise, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that do rule and teach well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect that is out there pushing this truth in all sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, giving diligence to make your calling and election sure. Shalom. This is your brother Hashah from the Great Millstone Savannah Camp, coming back in the spirit with another lesson. Lord willing, I pray and hope that it is edifying and exhorting. All right. And this video is gonna be, a testimonial, all right, on the Lord's deliverance from a trial, a literal trial and tribulation. Okay. Just speaking on a personal testimony, man. All right. So, basically, in February, I was arrested, first time ever being arrested. Something, that I won't get into the specifics of. All right. But it was, something that was kind of serious, facing up to, like 2 years in prison, for something that I did, early on in the truth. And, that 4 day I was in, basically in jail for like 4 days. While incarcerated, I was able to, have, a spiritual conversation with someone while I was in there, just about certain things. And, while I was, we were talking, it was me and this young Jake who was in there for something that he really wasn't proud of, and, I was just telling him about the truth and telling them about reincarnation, and I try to look for the silver lining and everything, and just trying to take the moments that where basically I felt like it was a reason why I was in the situation, and this was one of them, just ministering to this Jake. And he said, he basically told me, he was like, you know you know, now that he was hearing the Bible, that reincarnation was in the Bible, he felt free. He literally told me this. He was like, I feel free. So that was kind of the bright spot for me being in jail. The Lord had it to where I didn't even have to pay a bond. To get out, the judge allowed me not to have not to have to pay for a bond. It was, as long as I did what I was supposed to do, I didn't have to pay any money. I also had a court-appointed lawyer, which, that didn't feel good because, I felt like, in situations you need that, but I also just kept my faith. I kept my faith in Yahweh Shemi Awashai, that he would, make a miracle, do something miraculous for me. And, the whole time that I'm going through this tribulation, this trial, I lost my, I didn't have a job for 2 months. And, I'm just asking the Lord to, let me be able to do the work. Let me be able to go on the highways and byways. I don't want to miss that. All right. I don't want to have to go to jail and not be able to do what Yahweh Shemi Awashai has, set me forth to do. And that was just my prayer, the whole time, And I truly believe, that's the only reason I'm here. That's the only reason I'm here on earth. That's the only reason that the Lord allowed me out of this situation that I was in, where I was facing jail time. All right, he even while I was going through this, my job placed me on unpaid leave. All right, I got my last what, like 2 checks and a bonus, so that sustained me, which was beautiful timing. Just the Lord was showing me that he got me. For the I was unemployed for a month with just not making any money, but the bonus that I had gotten and my last check from my job allowed me to pay my bills and pay my rent. So that was just a little, just the Lord showing me subtle things that I got you. You know what I'm saying? So I go 2 months, and I've never been in trouble before. This is my first time being arrested. And I had to go talk to uh the prosecutor, and let them know, like, I'm a just informing them about my character. We had my lawyer had me meet with them and talk to them about what I had going on, my situation, and how this would basically ruin my life. Of course, being Yaiqua, uh in the situation, putting on the Clark Kent clothing, all right, and having to basically humble myself, and beg for mercy, so to speak. And Yahweh Shemiah Shah allowed me to have an escape. He allowed me to have my the case got dismissed. They basically dismissed the case before it even went to trial, without prejudice. And I was able to get my job back, which is a blessing. And the whole time I was able to hold fast to my faith. I never stopped doing the work. I tried to the best of my ability, take the situation cheerfully, understanding that the scriptures spoke about these things. um during the trial, I was thinking about Job. I was thinking about Paul and the situations that he was put in, how he talked about how he was shipwrecked and in prison. All right, I tried to keep these things in the forefront of my mind, all right, to keep me stable and rooted, right, as the scripture says in Jeremiah, or is Isaiah, Isaiah 30:6. All right, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time, right? Just staying upon that wisdom and knowledge, is what got me through. It's what got me through the trial. Though it seemed grievous, it seemed hard. It was definitely stressful. All right, but where a lot of people would have maybe bugged out, they probably would have lost their mind. I was able to keep my faith in Yahweh Shemiah Shai, and he delivered me. Okay, so I got basically this precept right here is the basis of my lesson. Luke 22, and forgive me because I'm driving. All right, I'm gonna try to read this to the best of my ability without crashing. Luke 22:31, and Yahweh and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan have desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, which is beautiful, because Yahweh Shai himself is, our intercessor, our mediator in the heavens, all right, making intercession for us, man. And it's comforting to know that if we do what we have to do, all right, that the Lord has our back. That He's not gonna allow us to be taken by the devil, man, by Satan. It says, but I have prayed for thee that thy faith fail not. All right. It says, and that when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. Right. Verse 32 in the NLT, Salakia, it says, but I have pleaded in prayer for you, Simon, that your faith should not fail. So when you have repented and turned to me again, strengthen your brethren. All right. So, basically the things that I did, it just wasn't wise. All right. I was young, being carnal at the time. And, it kind of came back to bite me. Also, just, it reminded me not to be tangled up into the world, and watch who you hang around, man. Watch who you're around, watch your surroundings, and, because the days are definitely evil, So, the Lord allowed me to make this video, to strengthen the brethren. And, the message behind this video is that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is faithful to those that are faithful. He's faithful and true. And, he won't allow anything to come upon you that you cannot handle. Right? 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13, it says, there have no temptation taking you but such as is common to man. Right? Everybody goes through these different temptations, trials, and tribulations. And a lot of people, they might have given up on Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai in that moment. But the Lord has given us the faith, all right, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to stay upon Him in our times of tribulation, man. All right, it says, but God is faithful, you see, who will not suffer. Salakia, give me a second. Right? It says, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will, Salakia, Salakia, Akim. All right. It says, but Yahweh is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So, the message is, call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai for, making a way for me to escape out of the situation, the hell that I, got myself into early on in the truth, and, to learn from it and grow from it and repent. Not only that, to continue to, be able to be a messenger for this truth, to continue to be able to do this work, is definitely what I prayed for, and just remaining faithful to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, in the time of trouble, in a low place, in a place where you feel like there is no way out. I definitely felt that way. So this video is a video of exhortation. All right, a video of basically a reminder that Yahweh Shem Shai is with his hopeful elect, and that he is faithful, man. So I just wanted to do this quick lesson, couple precepts, nothing too crazy, nothing long-winded. All right, going into the deliverance, man. All right, and Lord willing, it was edifying and exhorting. I want to end off by giving all the glory, infinite praise, and honor unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rahakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that do rule and teach well. Peace, love, and salutation to the hopeful elect that is out there pushing this truth in all sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, giving diligence to make your calling and election sure. Shalom and a Bible ball.